All right, let's dive into Blue Ocean's strategy.
Ooh, yeah.
We're taking on the expanded edition of the book
Okay.
by W. Chan Kim and Renee Melbourne.
Right.
It's sold millions of copies.
It has, yeah.
Basically become a business Bible.
Yeah.
But we're going to extract the absolute juiciest, most impactful bits for you.
All right.
Like a condensed version.
Yeah, I think what I find really fascinating about Blue Ocean strategy
Yeah.
is how it changes how we think about competition.
Okay.
It's not about that brutal fight for every inch of market share.
Right.
In existing industries, what they call red oceans.
Uh-huh.
It's about creating entirely new market spaces.
Okay.
Where the competition honestly becomes irrelevant.
That red ocean analogy is so vivid.
Right.
You can practically feel the sharks circling.
Yeah.
But how do we escape those red oceans and find those calm, pristine blue waters?
Yeah, that's the question, right?
Is it all about some crazy, groundbreaking invention?
Not necessarily. It's more of a shift in thinking.
Okay.
The authors call it value innovation.
Okay.
It's the cornerstone of everything.
Got it.
Instead of obsessing over outdoing the competition,
Yeah.
you make them irrelevant by creating a leap in value
Okay.
for both your customers and your company.
So instead of just trying to be a little bit better than the other guy, you're changing the whole game.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
They're creating something so unique and desirable that it pulls in customers who wouldn't have even considered your industry before.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light here.
Good.
But how do we actually do that?
Right.
Give me something concrete, something I can picture.
All right. So let's talk about Yellowtail, the Australian wine that took America by storm.
Okay, yeah.
Think back to the U.S. wine market in the early 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
A total red ocean, right?
Totally.
Crowded, confusing, with all that fancy jargon.
Yeah.
That, frankly, scared off most people.
Totally.
Wine always felt so intimidating. Like there was a secret club you needed to join.
Yeah.
So Yellowtail saw that
Okay.
and thought, why are people choosing beer or coolers over wine?
Interesting.
They realized most folks found wine confusing and stuffy.
Okay.
So what did they do?
Yeah?
They made wine fun,
Okay.
approachable,
Uh-huh.
easy to drink.
So less snobbery, more enjoyment.
Exactly.
Okay.
They got rid of the aging process, dumped the complex terminology,
Wow.
and focused on fruity, easy drinking wines.
Okay.
They appealed to a whole new crowd of people who thought they didn't like wine.
They basically redefined what wine could be.
They did.
That's incredible.
Right.
But how do we find these opportunities for value innovation? Is there like a step-by-step guide?
Yeah, there is. The authors introduce the 4 actions framework.
Nope.
It's like a cheat sheet for creating a blue ocean.
Oh, I like that.
And it's incredibly simple to remember.
Okay.
Eliminate,
Uh-huh.
reduce,
Okay.
raise.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, let's break this down.
Okay.
Eliminate, are we talking about things that the industry just takes for granted, but maybe don't actually add value anymore?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
We get so used to doing things a certain way
Uh-huh.
that we assume they're essential,
Yeah.
even if customers don't care anymore.
Okay.
Remember Yellowtail eliminating the aging process?
Right.
It was a bold move.
It was.
Yeah.
And then there's reduce,
Yes.
which sounds like cutting costs, but you said it's more nuanced than that.
It is,
Okay.
yeah. It's about stripping away the excess.
Okay.
Look at all those features, services, bells and whistles in your industry.
Right.
Are you over-investing in things that don't really matter to your customers?
Yeah.
Could you streamline without sacrificing the core value?
Okay, starting to see the power of this. Then we have raise.
Yeah.
So taking something that's maybe a weak point in the industry
Mm-hmm.
and turning it into a strength.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, you're raising the bar on what customers expect.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the areas where your industry consistently underperforms, where customers are frustrated.
Yeah.
That's where you can create a real wow factor.
I feel like this is where we're getting to the really exciting part. Coming up with those truly innovative, game-changing ideas.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the heart of Blue Ocean's strategy.
Okay.
Creating entirely new value, new experiences, new reasons for customers to choose you.
Okay.
Yellowtail created a whole new category of easy drinking, fun wines.
Yeah.
That's the power of create.
So if we go back to Yellowtail and map their strategy onto those 4 actions, they eliminated the aging and the jargon,
yes.
reduced the complexity of choice,
Mm-hmm.
raised the fun factor and approachability, and we created this whole new category of wine.
Yes.
It's not just one brilliant idea.
It's not.
It's strategically using all 4 actions to reinvent the game.
It is.
Wow.
And remember, the authors don't just leave you hanging with these ideas. Both ways to give you actual tools to put them into action.
Oh, nice.
One is the Eliminate, Reduce, Raise, Create grid, a visual way to analyze and brainstorm. It keeps you focused and makes sure you're hitting all 4 points.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So this is already so much more than just a business theory.
Yeah.
It's like a practical toolbox.
It is, yeah.
But wait, there's more, right?
Mm.
You mentioned something about 6 paths to help us discover blue oceans.
Right.
Okay.
So the 4 actions framework is all about reshaping value.
Uh-huh.
But these 6 paths are about widening your perspective.
Good.
Breaking free from the typical industry tunnel vision.
Okay. Yeah.
Think of it as a treasure map leading you to uncharted territory.
All right. I'm ready to set sail.
Good.
Take me to the first path on this treasure map.
All right. The first path is look across alternative industries.
Okay.
So instead of fixating on your direct competitors, ask yourself, why do customers choose alternatives to your industry's offerings altogether? What are they getting that you're not?
Okay.
A great example of this is NetJets.
NetJets, the private jet company.
Yeah.
What do private jets have to do with alternative industries?
So NetJets looked at why people choose commercial airlines over private jets.
Okay.
What they found was fascinating.
Okay.
People craved the convenience and flexibility of private jets, but the cost was a huge barrier.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the whole process felt overly complicated.
Okay. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So they...
So NetJets found a way to bridge the gap between commercial airlines and private jets.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah. They offered fractional ownership of private jets.
Okay.
Making it more affordable and accessible while still giving people that exclusive, hassle-free experience.
Okay.
They created a blue ocean by understanding the trade-offs customers were making between existing alternatives.
So it's not about copying those alternatives. It's about understanding why people choose them in the first place, and then finding a way to deliver that value in a new and innovative way.
Precisely.
Okay.
And that's just the first path.
Wow.
There are 5 more, each with its own unique approach to uncovering blue oceans. Are you ready to keep exploring?
Absolutely. I can't wait to see what other treasures we uncover on this journey.
Okay, so we've charted our course, and we're ready to explore the next path on this treasure map to blue oceans. What's next?
Path 2.
Okay.
It's all about looking across strategic groups within industries.
Okay.
Think of it like this.
Right.
You've got different players within the same industry.
Yeah.
All using similar strategies, targeting similar customer segments.
Okay.
They're like tribes with their own territories.
Got it.
But what if you could bridge the gaps between those tribes?
So instead of just focusing on your little corner of the market,
Yeah.
you're looking at the bigger picture within the industry.
Exactly.
Okay. A perfect example is Curves,
Curves.
the women's fitness franchise that exploded in popularity.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You remember them, right?
They seem to be everywhere for a while.
Their success was all about looking at those strategic groups in the fitness world.
Okay.
You had your traditional gyms, packed with equipment and hardcore fitness buffs.
Right.
And then you had your at-home workout programs.
So on one hand, you had the intense gym experience.
Right.
And on the other, the do-it-yourself approach.
And Curve saw a gap between those two groups.
Okay.
They realized there were tons of women who wanted the benefits of a gym, but felt intimidated by the whole scene.
Yeah, I can see that.
They didn't want to spend hours working out or figure out complicated machines.
So Curves created a hybrid model.
They did.
Something that appealed to women who wanted a more approachable, less intense gym experience.
Right.
Yeah.
They offered a streamlined workout, simple equipment, and a supportive, women-only environment.
Okay.
They eliminated the intimidation factor, reduced the complexity and time commitment, raised the affordability and convenience, and created a community feel that resonated with their target audience.
And it clearly worked.
It did.
They tapped into a whole new market of women who were being underserved by the existing fitness options.
Right.
Okay, so path 2 is about bridging those gaps between strategic groups. What about path 3?
Path 3 tells us to look across the chain of buyers.
Okay.
This one challenges a pretty fundamental assumption in business.
Okay.
That you should always focus on the end user.
So you're saying that sometimes the person who's actually using your product or service isn't the one making the purchasing decision.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
A great example is Bloomberg.
Okay.
Back in the 80s when the financial information industry was just taking off.
Right.
Companies like Reuters and Telerate were selling their terminals to IT departments.
Yeah.
Those were the guys signing the checks.
Yeah. Right.
But they weren't the ones actually using the terminals every day.
So they were focused on pleasing the gatekeepers.
Right.
But not necessarily the people who are actually going to be using the product.
Right. Interesting.
Bloomberg realized that the real users, the traders and analysts, were frustrated with the existing terminals.
Makes sense.
They were clunky, slow, and lacked the kind of analytical tools that these financial wizards needed.
So Bloomberg decided to focus on the end user, the people who are actually going to be interacting with the product day in and day out.
They went straight for the heart of the market.
Wow.
They created a terminal that was designed for traders, by traders.
Okay.
It was user-friendly, lightning fast, and packed with powerful analytical tools.
Okay.
And guess what?
What?
The IT departments had no choice but to follow suit because the traders demanded it. That's brilliant. By understanding the needs of the end users, even though they weren't the ones directly making the purchase, Bloomberg was able to completely disrupt the industry.
They did.
Okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Yeah.
Each of these paths is about challenging our assumptions and looking at things from a different angle.
It is.
What's path 4 all about?
Path 4 is look across complementary product and service offerings.
Okay.
This one's all about understanding the bigger picture.
Right.
Think of it like this.
Okay.
Even the greatest product in the world can be held back if the complementary offerings around it aren't up to par.
So you're saying it's not enough to just have a great product. You need to think about the entire customer experience.
Exactly.
Right.
Think about buying a smartphone.
Okay.
The phone itself is important, of course.
Right.
But the value you get from it also depends on things like the network coverage, the app selection, and the availability of accessories.
Okay.
Those are all complementary offerings. Yeah. A weak link in any of those areas can diminish the value of the whole experience.
Makes sense.
Right.
So path 4 is about finding opportunities to enhance the customer experience by addressing gaps or pain points in those complementary offerings.
Yeah.
Do you have a good example of that?
Let's go back to the 1990s.
Okay.
The British tea kettle market.
Tea kettles, sorry.
A classic red ocean, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Everyone was competing on price and features.
Right.
But Philips decided to look beyond the kettle itself. What else was involved in making a perfect cuppa? Water.
Water.
Yeah.
What's so innovative about water?
Well, in Britain, hard water is a real issue.
Okay.
It leaves limescale buildup in kettles, which affects the taste of the tea.
Oh, okay.
Philips saw an opportunity to address this unspoken customer pain point.
So while everyone else was focused on making better kettles, Philips was thinking about making better tea.
Exactly.
Interesting.
They created a kettle with a built-in limescale filter, directly addressing a problem that no one else in the industry was even acknowledging.
So by looking across those complementary offerings, they were able to create a blue ocean.
They were.
This is fascinating stuff.
It is.
Okay, we've covered 4 paths so far.
Yeah.
They're like a set of mental lenses that help you see opportunities you might otherwise miss.
They are.
What's up next on our journey?
Path 5 is look across functional or emotional appeal to buyers.
Okay.
This path challenges a pretty fundamental distinction.
Okay.
Are you selling a product based on its practical function? Or are you appealing to your customer's emotions?
So are you solving a problem or selling a feeling?
Right.
Okay.
And sometimes industries get stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
Assuming they have to compete on one or the other.
Right.
But what if you flipped the script?
Okay, I'm intrigued.
All right.
Give me an example where a company successfully flipped the script on functional versus emotional appeal.
Let's talk haircuts.
Haircuts, okay.
Traditionally, it's all about emotion, right? Yeah. Pampering, relaxation.
Right.
Personalized service, the whole salon experience.
Yeah.
But then along comes QB House in Japan.
QB House.
They decided to make haircuts purely functional.
So instead of the spa-like salon experience, they made it quick, efficient, and transactional.
Precisely. Right. They got rid of all the extras,
Yeah.
cut the haircut time down to 10 minutes.
Wow.
And used a traffic light system to show availability.
Interesting.
No fuss, no frills, just a great haircut at a great price.
And did it work? Was there actually a market for that kind of stripped-down haircut experience?
It was a huge hit.
Wow.
especially with busy professionals who valued efficiency and affordability over pampering.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So by challenging the industry's traditional focus on emotional appeal, QB House carved out their own blue ocean.
Right.
Okay, we've covered 5 paths so far.
We have.
What's the final path on our treasure map to blue oceans?
Path 6 is look across time.
Look across time?
This one's all about anticipating the future, spotting trends that are going to reshape your industry, and getting ahead of the curve.
So it's not enough to just look at the market as it is today. You need to have a crystal ball and see where it's going.
It's not about predicting the future perfectly.
Okay.
It's about understanding the forces that are already at play.
Yeah.
And shaping your strategy to capitalize on them.
Okay, I'm ready for an example. What company really nailed this look across time approach?
Think back to the music industry in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
The rise of illegal file sharing was sending shockwaves through the business.
Totally.
But Apple saw an opportunity amidst the chaos.
Right.
They understood that digital music wasn't just a fad, it was the future.
So instead of trying to fight the tide, they decided to ride the wave.
Exactly.
Okay.
They created iTunes.
iTunes, right.
Offering a legal and user-friendly way to download and manage digital music.
Makes sense.
While other companies were scrambling to protect their old business models. Yeah. Apple was building the future?
This look across time path seems like it requires a certain amount of courage and a willingness to embrace change.
It does.
Yeah.
But the potential rewards are massive by understanding the trends that are shaping the future. You can position yourself to create a blue ocean before anyone else even sees it coming.
Wow, we've covered all 6 paths. This has been an incredible journey.
It has.
I feel like we've been given a whole new set of tools for strategic thinking.
You have.
But it's not enough to just have a blue ocean idea, right?
No.
You need to be able to turn that idea into a concrete strategy and then execute it effectively.
You do?
Where do we go from here?
That's where the rest of the Blue Ocean strategy framework comes in.
Okay.
We need to talk about how to develop a solid strategic plan.
Yeah.
Overcome those inevitable adoption hurdles.
Right.
Lead effectively through times of change. And ultimately, ensure that your blue ocean stays blue.
Okay. I'm ready to keep diving. Let's explore how we can take these blue ocean insights and turn them into actionable plans that will make a real impact. Okay, we've explored these 6 paths to finding blue oceans. But how do we turn these inspiring ideas into a rock-solid plan? I'm all about action, you know.
I hear you.
Sometimes strategy can feel a little too abstract.
Right. That's where the beauty of Blue Ocean strategy really shines.
Okay.
The authors give us these fantastic visual tools to bridge that gap between idea and action.
Okay.
One of the most powerful is the strategy canvas.
Okay. I'm a visual learner, so I'm already intrigued.
Okay, good.
Break it down for me. What is this strategy canvas?
Imagine a snapshot of your industry's competitive landscape.
Okay.
The strategy canvas maps out the key factors that customers care about.
Right.
And then it shows you how the different players, you and your competitors, stack up on each factor.
So it's like a scorecard showing everyone's strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And what's cool is that by plotting your company's current strategy on this canvas, you can instantly see where you're went.
Right.
And where there might be opportunities to break away from the pack.
I bet that can be a real eye-opener.
It can.
Seeing everything laid out visually must help you spot those blind spots that you might miss otherwise.
The book uses this great case study of a foreign exchange company called EFS.
EFS, okay.
They were struggling to stand out in a crowded market. So they used the strategy canvas to analyze their position.
What did they discover through that process?
They had a classic case of Me Too syndrome.
Oh, no.
Their strategy looked almost identical to their competitors, their value curve.
Yeah.
That line on the canvas representing their offerings was basically flatlining. They were trying to be everything to everyone and ended up being nothing special.
Ouch.
Right.
That's got to be a tough pill to swallow.
It is.
But also incredibly valuable to realize before it's too late.
Right. The strategy canvas helped them confront that reality and see the urgent need for a new approach.
Yeah.
It also highlighted their main competitor's strategy.
Okay.
Super focused, super compelling. It was like a wake-up call.
So the strategy canvas isn't just about understanding yourself. It's about sizing up the competition, too.
Absolutely. It allows you to compare your strategy side by side with your rivals.
Right.
And that's where you start to see those opportunities for differentiation.
Makes sense.
Okay, so you've got your strategy canvas, you've identified your strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. How do you choose where to focus your energy?
That's the million-dollar question. There are probably tons of potential blue ocean ideas floating around. How do you pick the right one?
This is where things get even more interesting.
Right.
Remember those non-customers we talked about earlier?
The people who aren't currently buying in your industry.
Exactly.
Yeah, the folks who are either using alternative solutions or just haven't even considered your industry at all.
Right.
It's like a whole hidden world of potential customers.
Exactly. Kim and Mawborn argue that instead of fighting tooth and nail over existing customers, we should be focusing on converting those non-customers into new demand.
That makes sense, but how do we figure out what these non-customers want? They're outside our usual sphere, so it's not like we can just send out a survey.
The book introduces another brilliant tool, the Pioneer Migrator Settler Map, or PMS map for short.
Okay, I love a good acronym. Who are these pioneers, migrators, and settlers?
Think of it like a spectrum of innovation.
Okay.
Pioneers are the blue ocean creators, the ones offering that leap in value that attracts non-customers. Migrators offer improved versions of existing products or services, trying to stay ahead of the curve, and settlers are stuck in the red ocean, offering Me Too products with little differentiation.
Got it. So the PMS map helps you visualize where you stand in terms of innovation, and ideally you want to be a pioneer.
Yes, exactly. By analyzing where you and your competitors fall on this map, you can start to identify opportunities to shift from settler or migrator to pioneer.
I like it. Okay, that's a helpful framework. But let's get specific. How do we actually attract those non-customers? What are they looking for?
The authors suggest looking for commonalities in what non-customers value, rather than getting bogged down in their differences.
Okay.
They use this fantastic example, Callaway Golf.
Okay, golf. Not exactly known for being the most approachable sport. How do they use blue ocean strategy?
Callaway realized that a huge number of people found golf incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
All those tiny clubs and tiny balls hitting it consistently seemed impossible.
Right.
These folks had basically given up on golf.
Uh-huh.
They were non-customers.
So instead of trying to cater to the pros, Callaway decided to make golf easier for beginners.
Precisely.
Okay.
They created the Big Bertha driver.
A Big Bertha,
A club that was much more forgiving and easier to hit, especially for those who weren't exactly Tiger Woods. And they marketed it directly to those non-customers who thought golf was just too darn hard.
Brilliant. They created a whole new market by addressing the needs of people who were being ignored by the industry.
They did. But having a great idea isn't enough.
Right.
You need to build a sustainable business model around it.
That's a crucial point. We can't just chase blue oceans without making sure they can actually support a thriving business. What do we need to consider?
The authors emphasize the importance of getting the strategic sequence right.
Okay.
Buyer utility, price costs, and adoption.
Okay, break it down for me.
It starts with buyer utility.
Okay.
Before you worry about anything else, you have to make sure your offering delivers exceptional value to the buyer.
Right.
No utility, no blue ocean.
Makes sense. Utility first. But how do we determine the right price? Pricing can be tricky, especially when you're creating a whole new category.
They introduce a tool called the price corridor of the mass.
Okay.
It's about looking beyond your immediate industry to find products or services that perform a similar function, even if they look completely different.
Okay. I need an example here.
Think about the Ford Model T.
The Model T, all right.
When Ford launched it,
Yeah.
they didn't just compare its price to other cars.
Right.
They looked at the price of horse-drawn carriages.
Wow, that's thinking outside the box.
Right.
Back then, carriages were the primary mode of transportation for most people.
Great. By pricing the Model T competitively against carriages, Ford was able to attract a massive new market of people who had never considered owning a car before.
They made the car a viable alternative to the existing transportation options. Okay, so we've got the utility, we've got the price.
Yeah.
What about costs? How do we make sure our blue ocean is profitable?
Partnerships are key.
Partnerships, okay.
The authors highlight companies like IKEA and SAP,
Right.
who have successfully leveraged partnerships to reduce their costs without sacrificing quality.
So it's about finding those win-win situations where everyone benefits. Okay, we've got a great idea. A compelling price and a cost-effective business model. What's the last piece of the puzzle?
Adoption.
Adoption, you mean actually getting people to embrace our new idea?
Exactly. And it's not just customers we need to convince.
Right.
It's employees, partners, and even the general public.
Yeah.
Any new idea, especially a disruptive one, will face resistance.
So how do we overcome that resistance? How do we get everyone on board?
The authors stress the importance of clear communication,
okay,
proactive education, and addressing concerns head-on.
Okay.
They contrast the missteps of companies like Monsanto, who faced huge backlash for their genetically modified foods, with the success of NTT Docomo's iMode launch in Japan.
Okay, so it's about building trust and transparency. It's about bringing people along on the journey, not just springing a big change on them.
Absolutely. And when it comes to driving change within an organization, the authors introduce this powerful concept of tipping point leadership.
Ooh, I love that phrase.
It's about creating that sense of urgency and momentum that makes people want to embrace change.
Right.
One of the most powerful tactics is making employees confront the worst operational problems firsthand.
So less talking, more showing.
Exactly. The book talks about Bill Bratton.
Bill Bratton, okay.
Who completely transformed the NYPD.
Wow.
He took his top brass on a Ride the Electric Sewer tour of the subway system.
Oh, wow.
To expose them to the grim reality of crime.
Wow, that's a powerful image. I can see how that would create a shared understanding of the problem and the need for change.
Tipping point leadership is also about identifying and redirecting resources away from those underperforming areas, what they call cold spots, and focusing on key influencers or kingpins who can drive change throughout the organization.
Makes sense. It's a very strategic and focused approach to leadership. It's not about just barking orders. It's about inspiring and empowering people to make the change happen.
Right. The authors also emphasize the importance of fair process.
Fair process, okay?
This means building execution into the strategy from the very beginning.
Got it.
It's about involving people in the decision-making process. And making sure they feel heard and respected.
So it's not just about what you're doing, but how you're doing it.
Right. They use the example of a company called Lubber. That tried to implement a major shift to cellular manufacturing, but failed to properly involve their employees.
What happened at Lubber?
That lack of fair process created a lot of fear and mistrust among employees.
Yeah, I can see that.
They felt like the rug was being pulled out from under them.
Right.
It led to conflict and ultimately undermined the whole strategy.
Wow.
It's a reminder that change needs to be managed thoughtfully and inclusively.
Absolutely. Okay, we've talked about utility, price, cost adoption, leadership, and fair process. Is there anything else we need to consider when building a sustainable blue ocean?
The last key ingredient is alignment.
Alignment, okay.
The authors talk about aligning the value, profit, and people propositions.
So it's about making sure that everyone wins, your customers, your company, and your employees.
Exactly. They highlight Salesforce.com as a great example.
Salesforce, okay.
They've consistently renewed their blue ocean by offering exceptional value to customers. Maintaining strong profitability. And empowering their employees. It's a win-win-win.
That's a pretty inspiring model. But even the most successful blue oceans don't last forever, right? What happens when the competition catches up?
That's the reality of business. Even blue oceans can turn red over time. The authors stress the importance of ongoing monitoring and a commitment to continuous value innovation.
I like that.
They use the example of Apple.
Okay.
They've created multiple blue oceans with products like the iMac, iPod, and iPhone, but they've also seen those oceans turn red as competitors catch up.
So it's not about finding one perfect blue ocean and then just relaxing on a beach somewhere. It's about constantly pushing the boundaries, staying ahead of the curve, and never getting complacent.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Wow. This deep dive has been an incredible journey.
It has.
We've covered so much ground, from understanding what blue oceans are to those 6 paths to finding them, to all the practical tools and leadership principles that help us bring those ideas to life. What stands out to you as a key takeaway?
The power of value innovation.
Value innovation.
It's not about beating the competition at their own game. It's about changing the game entirely. It's about creating something so unique and compelling that it unlocks new demand and makes the competition irrelevant.
Absolutely. And Blue Ocean Strategy gives us a roadmap for doing just that. But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge. Think about your own industry, your own work. What opportunities for blue oceans are out there just waiting to be discovered? What needs are going unmet? What possibilities are you overlooking? The potential for blue oceans is everywhere if you're willing to challenge your assumptions and look beyond the traditional boundaries of your industry.
That's a fantastic challenge. So to all our listeners out there, go explore those blue oceans.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.